All right, good evening. We're going to call to order the Sparks Planning Commission meeting on Thursday, October 2nd, 2014. Roll call.
Roll call. Commissioner Sanders, absent. Commissioner Hewen.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner Nowicki.
Here.
Commissioner Bowles, absent. Commissioner Sperber.
Here.
Commissioner Camerota.
Here.
Assistant City Attorney Doug Morgan.
Here.
City Planner Armando Bernal.
Here. All right, public comment. This item is for either public comment on any action item or for the general public comment, and is limited to no more than 3 minutes for anybody. Again, public will have a chance to talk on any specific item later on in the meeting. Don't see any public comment right now, so we'll close that and move to approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Approved. Moving on to the approval of the minutes.
Move to approve as submitted. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, moving on. Announcements and committee reports. Okay. Any informational items?
Just one informational item regarding there was a project that went to Regional Planning Commission on September 24th for as a project of regional significance, and it went essentially for a project of regional significance review by the Regional Planning Commission. This was the proposed 20-acre project on Marina Gateway Drive, which is south of Prater Way and north of Lincoln. On the east side there, and it includes potentially as many as about 900 multifamily residential units. And I guess a question arose why I had not come to the Sparks Planning Commission for a review, and essentially the answer to that is that when we approved the TOD plan and with it the TOD standards, one of the goals of that was basically to facilitate TOD type development. And so with a project like this that, if it's able to meet all of the standards that are prescribed in the TOD documents, then the path is clear for that to go through without any sort of discretionary approval. And by discretionary approval, I mean either a Planning Commission approval or a City Council approval. And the only process that is called for per the adopted zoning is the site plan review process. And so that's why it didn't require a special use permit, for example. Because of the scale of the project, though, it did trigger the regional review as a project of regional significance. So, we probably should have mentioned that at one of our study sessions or something. We have a lot of projects go simply through site plan review and not through, the Planning Commission. And again, this was an example of really a TOD project, and in one respect, it's one of the first true TOD projects actually, coming through in the manner in which it was intended. So, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Armando, Jim called me up Thursday, the day after the meeting, because that was my question at Regional, and he explained it. And I think at the time, in 2010, I was the chair of the Sparks Planning Commission, and to try to go back and remember that after all the meetings that we had, he had to jar it pretty well, but I finally did remember what had happened. And also along that line, there on the conditions, I think there was 24 or 32, I really don't remember, but on all the conditions it said draft. And the same with the letter to RTC, it said draft. And one of the questions was, a draft usually means it's going to be changed somewhere along the line. That was my thought. And we brought Tim up, and it was discussed that before anything in the conditions were changed at all, that it had to come back in front of Regional or the Sparks Planning Commission. I wasn't quite sure of that.
Well, it would be, if it was specifically, and I'd have to go back and check with Tim and with regional staff as to specifically what the motion was, But it wouldn't come back before the Sparks Planning Commission.
Okay, you'll go in front, regional again.
If in fact, it if there's a substantive change relative to the approval on the part of regional planning, then potentially it could go back to regional planning.
Okay, thank you, Armando.
Okay, ready to move on to the public hearing items. First one's PCN 14044, Roots and Wings Christian Preschool. We have Karen Melby, Senior Planner, presenting.
Good evening, Karen Melby, Senior Planner. Before you today is a consideration of possible action on a special use permit to allow the operation of a preschool in an existing church. This property is located on Pyramid Highway. You can see here's Pyramid Highway. It's just north of the Walmart. This property is in Washoe County with the designation of low-density urban, and it would convert to R2 would be to be annexed into the city. It's located at 6255 Pyramid Way. The city of Sparks is reviewing this because we have planning control over this. This is not actually within the city limits. It's in our sphere of influence. And based on NRS 278-02788, the city of Sparks has exercised extraterritorial jurisdiction over this based on the protocol agreement between Sparks and Washoe County. Staff has reviewed the project, and we are recommending approval with 4 conditions, which we have handed out to you tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
That's a very busy corridor, people in and out. The church is magnificent, the area is lovely. The concern there, is there any concern for safety with more traffic, trying to turn in and out of the parking lot?
There was no concern. It's only 30 students, so it wouldn't be that much traffic. So, and the county is requiring them to do a change to the driveway access, and so they're working on doing that because they had to do a boundary line adjustment to have a cleaner access onto Pyramid.
I mean, trying to make a turn in the middle of rush hour is...
Yeah, I don't think in that location you can actually make a left in. I'm not sure. That there are representatives from the church here, so she might be able to address that. I can't remember specifically if you can make a left at that location.
Karen, is a protocol agreement through Washoe County and the city, the subject site must comply with the city's zoning regulations and all other development standards regulated by Washoe County? Is that the protocol agreement itself?
Yeah, it just says that the city of Sparks, because it's in our sphere, we have planning jurisdiction. So only the planning codes apply to when we review a project. If they had to do any tenant improvements or anything like that, it would all be reviewed by Washoe County Building Department. So the only thing that we can look at as a city is the planning issues.
And that's it?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that's why, again, limited to like only 4 conditions, because we're only going through the planning cycle on this
That's correct,
project,
yeah.
right?
And we felt that the parking, we didn't see any issue with the parking because it's a church parking lot. So we felt that the joint use parking would definitely cover for the daycare. Because, I mean, the daycare is going to be Monday through Friday, so generally they don't have church services during those times. There may be like a funeral or a wedding or something, but generally there wouldn't be typical church service during those times.
Is the applicant here? Would they like to come up? Would you like to somebody come up and introduce yourself?
My name is Heather.
You have to.
Some of these guys can't hear very good. You gotta.
My name is Heather Kirkwood from First Baptist Church.
Heather, do you know if you can't take a left onto, if you're heading northbound on Pyramid, can you take a left into the,
You can.
You can?
Mhm.
And you said, wasn't there a preschool prior to that, maybe 5 or 6 years ago on the site as well?
It was just up until 3 years ago, and it was kindergarten through high school, and there were up to 300 students at one time.
Do you have to install that grease interceptor before you can start the classes?
Well, after I had talked to Tim, he said that that wasn't under City of Sparks. That was something that Washoe County handles. So I wasn't clear on that. That's right? Okay.
When the health department does the inspection, they would have to determine if the grease interceptor would be required
Okay.
or necessary.
Right, and we have been approved already because I did the hot lunch program there, and we had to be licensed, and Washoe County comes out every year.
Okay. All right, we're ready for a motion.
The public.
I think there's one.
Oh, public comment, I'm sorry.
Open.
Well, thank you. We'll open the public comment. Okay. Yeah, open the public comment. You have 3 minutes, ma'am. Please state your name.
My name's Loretta. I live right behind that school. And I've been a resident there for 14 years. So I watched the street. To get to that school, you got to make a left-hand turn into Springbridge. You're battling traffic coming from north to south. Now, as some of us all know, if they come down Pyramid, that traffic is real heavy in the morning. Next year, they're going to be doing construction on Pyramid and McCarran because they're going to widen it. I don't know if you're aware of all that. I keep getting meeting notices, and I go to all that stuff, too. I'm concerned about the traffic also because they're going to make a left turn on Springbridge and another quick left turn on Dorchester, which is that little short street, to go into the parking lot. I've seen that traffic. I've almost clobbered a couple cars because they're coming right off of Pyramid on Springbridge, and I'm coming down the other way, and I'm going downhill. They're going uphill. It's a traffic problem. They can't widen the street because they got houses there. The parking lot is pretty full by the time I'm coming through at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm 75 years old. I don't work, but I do things early in the morning. I'm concerned about the safety of these kids, and I think that's what we should be concerned about. It's a traffic problem, and with construction starting next year, I'm really more concerned. And the water problem to go with it, because we have a water shortage here going on really bad. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And ma'am?
Ma'am, you need to sign with her.
Fill out a card. Is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak on this item? All right, if not, we'll close public comment. Bring it back to the commission. Any questions? All right. Then we're ready for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the special use permit associated with PCN 14044 to allow for the operation of a preschool in an existing church, adopting findings S1 through S6, and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report, subject to the conditions of approval 1 through 4 as listed in this staff report.
Do we have a second? Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Passes. Okay, move on to PCN 14036, Kylie Ranch North Phase 2, Karen Melby.
Good evening, Planning Commissioners. I'm Karen Melby, Senior Planner. Before you today are two items. The first item I wanted to discuss is a zone change of this property right here. It's 5.1 acres, and it's addressed at 6300 David Allen. It's, I'm sorry, it wasn't up. Now it's up, that's okay. So it's this green parcel here. And they are requesting a zone change of, it's currently right now agricultural, A40, and they're requesting to make it NUD. The intent is to incorporate it into the Phase 2 handbook, and if you remember, this area here is Phase 2, and they want to incorporate that into the Phase 2 handbook. Staff is recommending approval, and that concludes my presentation on that item A. There are two, an A and a B item, so.
Can we take them both at the same time?
Can we take them both, or?
Can we take them both together?
You have to make two separate motions.
Karen, before we go any further, you sent out a memorandum to the Sparks Planning Commission that asks that we
That's the second
table this.
item. That's B.
Pardon me?
That's for item B.
Oh, that's for B?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
My staff report that was in your packet was for the zone change of the 5 acres.
Okay, is the applicant here and would like to speak?
For the record, my name is Melissa Lindell with Wood Rogers, and I'm representing the Lazy Five company on this. It's a pretty straightforward application. We're just going to, it's one of the few properties in the whole area that is still zoned A40. So we'd be changing it to NUD like every other property in the Kylan Ranch area. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing item. So if anybody from the public that would like to speak on it? Seeing none, close public comment, bring it back to the commission. And I'm ready for a motion, so I'd like to make one.
Motion here.
Yeah.
Can I make a motion here? Okay, I move to forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for rezoning associated with PCN 14036 based on findings Z1 through Z3 and the facts supporting these findings as set forth in the staff report.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, all opposed? All right, passes unanimously.
Right.
The item B is to be an amendment to the Phase 2 handbook, and some issues have come up, and so staff is recommending that this item be tabled, because at this point, we don't know the exact timing of when the issues will be resolved, so we can't continue it to a specific date. So we're asking that the Planning Commission table this item until we know when we can bring the handbook forward.
What are you doing?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to,
We did do a public notice to the neighbors, so you will have to open the public hearing.
All right, on B, PCN 14036, letter B, or second part of it, open for public comment. Does anybody from the public want to just come up? If not, we'll close public comment, come back and ask for a motion.
I'm going to make sure, does the applicant want to say anything? I did, seem to be appropriate.
Melissa Lindell with Wood Rogers, representing the applicant, and we've been working with Karen on this issue that's preventing it from going forward, so we concur with the tabling, and we'll be back at some point. Thank you.
In the near future.
In the near future. Thanks.
No more questions. One of the questions on the legal, and I think we went through this before, when we table an item, what does that do?
When you table an item, it essentially puts it in limbo until you move to take it off the table and then consider it. The reason for the tabling is because we have no idea when the issue is going to be resolved. You heard the near future, but the near future could be 3 months, or it could be 6 months, or it could be a year. And because we can't continue it to a date certain, we don't have a tool at our disposal to do anything with it other than either have the application withdrawn or to table it until the issue is resolved.
Okay.
And We will be doing a new public neighborhood notice when the intent is to untable it. It will be noticed to the neighbors again.
All right, I'll ask for a motion to table.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to table PCN 14036, item B, until a date is certain. As of now, there is no date.
Second. All right, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
So just so everybody is clear on the procedure from this point forward, and planning staff will put on a future agenda an item that says, for your consideration, to untable or to remove it from the table.
Right.
And then there will be a second agenda item wherein you consider the actual project.
And those can be in the same meeting, and
Yes,
essentially, we
Yes.
just do it. Okay.
yes. Now, they can be in the same meeting, and if you vote to not take it off the table,
Obviously.
then you won't be able to deal with the subsequent agenda item, but
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, general business, any more public comment? And if not, any comments from the commissioners? I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All right, everybody have fun.
Go roll.